Hi, Neil Wilding here. I'm one of the partners at Stonewood. I want to welcome you to this training video. And this video is part of the Roth Done Right program that we've just launched here at Stonewood. And this one's going to focus on tax drift. Clearly, there are multiple variables that come into play when we start to consider, how soon should we convert the assets? What should the conversion period look like? And tax drift is a big part of that. It's also the most common. I think a lot of people understand tax drift, but this video is going to narrow in on, that variable. We'll define it for you and then look and see what the impact is to your conversion pattern. So, tax drift. What is it? Well, tax drift is the potential additional taxes paid from being in a higher tax bracket or moving into a higher tax bracket when converting your assets. And that's in a nutshell, right? Like, are we going to have to pay extra tax because we moved into a higher tax bracket because of the conversion? So what does it mean? Really, we're looking at the variables in play here as we consider tax drift is, okay, what's your current bracket? And then, how much room do you have to operate within that bracket? And then, of course, if we do have some drift, if we do move into a new bracket, what's the cost of that drift? Are we going from like 22 to 24? Are we making a more significant jump into either a higher tier or multiple tiers? And in a nutshell, that's really tax drift. It's easy to understand, but sometimes difficult to quantify. And so we're going to go through that a little bit. And I want to take a deeper dive into tax drift. A lot of people think, okay, if I'm going to do a Roth conversion and I'm going to assume some tax drift, that's a cost. And that's true. It is a cost. And so a common question I get is, well, what's the break-even point? Like, at what point is it too much? And so I built an example on that, because really what we have to look at is the after-tax income generated from an IRA dollar. And would we have more if we just defer those assets and pay the taxes as the money comes out? Or would we have more if we go through the Roth conversion today, either with or without tax drift, and take taxes and take our money out tax-free later? So I've done some quick math on this. And so just for this example, I'm just going to consider $100,000 of conversion income, say, this year. And I'm going to look at and say, okay, what's the the 100,000 grow to? And then what kind of income could we take out? And I am going to assume taxes are changing in the future, right? If we don't think taxes are changing in the future, then, Roth conversion probably shouldn't be on the table. But if we do believe the taxes could be higher in the future than they are today, then, it's worth, reallocating some of our money. And so now let's look at just some numbers here. So I've got $100,000. Again, I'm assuming taxes change in this example in the fifth year. It's just meant to be a general example. And so the 100,000, by the way, I've made some assumptions on growth. They're kind of, I think I assume 5 or 6% growth. The example, it's consistent throughout. So just know that I've made that. And I think I assumed a 20% effective tax rate. And then, taxes going up by, I think I used like a 30% increase in the fifth year. Again, if you follow our other training videos, we talk about, why that is a representative and number of what we could expect. So anyway, $100,000, it grows to $179,000. This is if we just stay in the IRA. And so that means when we go to distribute that money, the taxes have increased, right? So we deferred those taxes and now taxes went up a little bit. So when we go to take income, and I'm looking at age 60 to 70, so technically 11 years of deferral there, you'd be able to take out $9,763, make it last till age 95. Again, that's the after-tax number. So the total benefit there is like $244. And if you see me leaning in, it's because the numbers are really small on my screen. So if I can see them, I know you can see them because they're bigger on what you can see. So anyway, so that's what we're looking at if we just defer that money into the future, or defer the taxes into the future. And so that represents a traditional IRA. Now, we got that 100,000. If we go through a Roth conversion and we're able to do that without any tax drift. Again, if we are a 20% effective tax rate now, and we're able to convert all of that 100,000 within our existing bracket, then we don't have any drift. And in that case, because taxes are changing in the future, that means we come out a big time winner, right? And so we're able to take out much more income in retirement. And of course, our total is a lot higher. But now the question is around drift. Well, what if we do assume some drift? And I'm just going to work my way down. And through this example, I'm just going to add $1,000 worth of extra tax during the conversion. And so like in example 1, we've got $1,000 worth of drift. So instead of having 80 after the Roth conversion, now we have 79. And you can see there the income, the after-tax income goes down a little bit, but still way ahead of what we would have had if we just took our 100,000 and deferred it into that rising tax environment. And so you can see, so now it's $2,000 worth of drift. You can see we're still way ahead, but the difference is going down, right? And that's intuitive here. $3,000 worth of drift, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 worth of drift. We're still ahead. Now we're just barely ahead, but we're still ahead. And oh, by the way, if we do the Roth conversion, a lot risk off the table. So even in a situation where we're breaking even, so to speak, I still think conversion should be on the table, at least considering it because of the risk that it alleviates. But where we start to, at least from a math perspective, start to be on the losing side of that is with $7,000 worth of drift. So if we do a Roth conversion for every $100,000, if we, and by the way, this is specific to this example, but I do think it's pretty representative here. So the net of this is, and I call this acceptable drift. This is purely from a break-even perspective. You got $100,000 worth of IRAs that we're considering this year. In general, about $6,000 of drift. I mean, I hate to use the word acceptable, but to me, I'm still willing to take that so that I can overcome, the potential and hedge against the rising tax risk. By the way, all of these on this previous slide, I was able to run all of that just using our standard income report. You can use our Stonewood software to just say, okay, if I've got an IRA asset worth $100,000, what kind of after-tax income would that generate? It's a very simple calculation, but it's good to use in scenarios like this where you can help calculate a break-even point. And so you can just run it at $100,000 as an IRA, see what you can get, and then you can say, okay, what's $75,000 worth of Roth money look like? And it'll tell you, and that'll give you your answer on how much acceptable drift can be on the table based on your client's specific needs. All right. So really, I go through that example because I think what people think about is like, okay, tax drift. How does that impact my conversion? And what's conventional wisdom going to tell you, right? If this were a speedometer and I was only looking at tax drift, do I want to speed up and go as fast as I can, or do I want to slow things down? And the Roth Done Right software actually kicks out a supplemental report that will help calculate this for you. It actually looks at 3 different variables, but for this one, we're looking at tax drift. And the numbers are as expected, right? Now, forget about exactly what the numbers are on here. I just meant to, I ran a quick example just to be, to see what things would look like. But it kind of tells the story here, where in this case, you're going to have some tax drift in a 1-year conversion, a 2-year conversion, a 3-year conversion, and even a little bit of drift in the 4-year conversion. But after that, we're home scot-free. So if we're only looking at tax drift, then conventional wisdom does kind of play out, where you might want to spread that out as much as possible to avoid tax drift. And so that's like my little, speedometer there says, yeah, okay, so with tax drift, we slow it down. But is that the only variable? No. And that's why it's important to not just watch this video, but the 2 accompanying videos on terms like conversion delta and IRMA. So this wraps up the video that I have prepared here for tax drift. But really, this is part 1 of a 3-part series. So make sure you check out the next 2 videos. Thank you for being a member. Thank you for embracing the Roth Done Right program, and look forward to hearing all sorts of success stories as you continue to use it. Thank you.